accurate from the trade deadline. Me and Nate going to go through each one, give you our honest grades on them. And just to start out, before we grade anything, I think craziest trade I saw, I was just telling Nate about it before we started recording because it's that crazy. Zubac one took me completely off guard. Completely off guard. I didn't even realize that it's a rebuild type trade almost because you get like some picks and stuff back. It's so confusing. Like, it's so confusing to me.
Yeah, the Clippers have kind of confused me all season with what I've been hearing in reports about what they're trying to do, trying to compete, not trying to compete, holding on to their stars, moving on from them. They're obviously very attached to Kawhi Leonard, and
Yeah.
honestly, I don't blame them. It just is now about what uh, period are they trying to go into? And so I didn't think that Zubac or initially James Harden were on the trading block. Of course, James
Yeah.
Harden asked out, so that is a different conversation. But with
He
Zubac gone,
says he
I'm real.
didn't.
He
That was a
didn't.
curious part. He said he didn't request a
Oh,
trade.
really?
Yeah, he said he
Oh,
didn't,
so
but I
some
don't.
conflicting reports then.
There's some conflicting reports
Okay,
there.
okay.
Some people
So
say he did, some people say he didn't.
So yeah, so where does this leave the Clippers? They were obviously having a much better second half of the season. Once they had their guys a little bit healthier, Kawhi
Yeah,
Leonard coming back was huge for them. And so
16 and
now it's
three run,
like, say again?
16-3 run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now it's what are they trying to do? They're obviously not trying to compete, right? They shipped out their only center outside of Brooke Lopez, it seems, which
mm,
is not a really good
yeah,
replacement for that. I mean, I was wondering if they'd maybe get, I don't know, Jay Huff even as just,
oh,
a workable center back, but no. Just a shooting guard and a power forward, which is not really going to fill that hole at all. So obviously they're not going to be competitive. Darius
yeah,
Garland, I think they're hoping is going to take on this uh, greater offensive load that he's able to have now without Donovan Mitchell at his two.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of the Clippers, wing positions are not huge usage guys.
yeah,
So I think they're expecting him to be I don't know, 22, 23 plus points per game scorer. Hopefully become a primary playmaker as well, because that's when he would be at his very best. So
yeah.
I think if he
So,
falls short of having a 22 and 7 assists type of season for the rest of the year,
yeah,
um, I think that would be pretty disappointing. And if he overachieves on that, even better for the Clippers. They're definitely going to turn towards him
right.
as their, new young point guard. Although he's not too young.
Not too young.
We,
So
we we lose track of these things sometimes.
yeah, it's it's pretty remarkable. Like I said, that a lot of the trades that happened, I think that one, the Clippers moves were in the most, probably the most random. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to grade them. I'm excited to grade them. So
Yeah.
without further ado, let's get it pulled up so we can start looking at some of these trades.
Which one are you starting on?
Gonna start up with we're gonna go straight up from the last one that I guess got put in, which some of these, I'll be honest, a little skip worthy.
Are
Xavier
we going?
Tillman
We're going
getting.
reverse order.
You want to go from? Oh, this is from February 5th. So yeah, so it's like the. I can go from the earliest too. We can go
I was
from.
gonna say we can start. Um, I guess
We can start from
from
February 1st when they trade for
yeah. I think
Schroeder and
I think February
Keon Ellis.
first is probably a good day to start, because I mean, what
Yeah.
the only other trade this season was Trey Young and C.J. McCollum.
Oh
We
yeah,
already talked about
absolutely.
that.
So
So yeah, February
starting on
first is great.
starting on February 1st, you had the Bulls, Cleveland, and Sacramento trade. So it was, or it did. Chicago got added, seemingly to me later. Chicago receives Dario Saric, 2 second-round picks, Dennis Schroeder. Or Cleveland receives Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, Emmanuel Miller, and Sacramento acquires DeAndre Hunter. For me, in that Bulls trade, getting Dario Saric, I do not believe, who did they give up? Emmanuel Miller. Um, to me, I mean, for Chicago, I don't think it really benefits them from the second round picks. I thought what Cleveland did in that trade, I thought it was pretty interesting because I thought it, we didn't know that they were going to end up moving Darius Garland. So beforehand,
Yeah.
I still liked it, but now even moving Darius Garland, now I was like, okay, now this really made sense. But then getting James Harden, it just seems like it gives them a lot of relief. It gives them a lot more depth. Um, and I liked it. For Cleveland, I give it a B. Chicago, I'm going C. I don't really care about Dario Saric at this point. And for Sacramento, um, C minus. I just like
Mm.
I don't like the pieces they got over there. I don't love Zach LaVine. I don't love DeRozan at this point in his career. Not Westbrook. DeAndre Hunter just I mean, I would like to maybe gotten a pick back or just anything for my players. Like I think Keanu Ellis is a decent producer. I think Dennis Schroeder is a valuable veteran when he goes to these teams. I think he gets a lot of crap. But DeAndre Hunter just I don't know. I give them like a C minus.
C minus. All right. I'm just checking one thing real quick before I finalize these, but I do want to start with saying I think the Cavs got away with reducing their spending on that
Yeah,
$23 million DeAndre Hunter contract, which I think is definitely an overpay. He showed a lot of
mm,
promise the last 2 seasons, but he's not really keeping up with that kinda expectation, I think.
yeah,
So, I mean, he's now at what, 14 points per game, and he's known as like a 3 and D guy, but I don't know. They weren't, doing as well as you'd hope for the Cavaliers this season to start with him getting a decent amount of minutes in that, 26 minutes a game. I think it's time
yeah,
to move on from that contract for sure. He's also shooting just north of 30% from 3. I don't love that. So for the Cavs, that's, I think a good trade-off getting Dennis Schroeder, especially to have him as a backup PG, and then I think most importantly is that Keon Ellis, aspect where you now have a lot better, backcourt defense,
yeah,
especially now that they have James Harden, because I think the only thing anybody is worried about with those 2 in the backcourt is their defense. So
yeah,
picking him up, you need a good defensive position. They're good there.
yeah.
Um, and then just a two-way player, I'm not too concerned about. I definitely give the Cavs a B plus here. They are stuck with Schroeder for a couple more years, which I don't know if I wanna have him for the next 2 years or if his value
Yeah,
is gonna I don't expect it to go up or stay the same. I definitely expect, his level of play to drop off as he gets older. Otherwise, I would have maybe given them an A minus for that, if he was
mm,
like an expiring contract or 1 more year maybe.
yeah,
For the Kings, adding another wing on there, I really I really don't know what the Kings are trying to do right now. It's pretty confusing. And you're adding him to a team that already struggles with shooting threes in a year where he is specifically struggling to hit threes. I
yeah,
don't love it. Zach LaVine being the exception there, of course, and Malik Monk off the bench. But I say for the Kings, they got rid of a couple good guards. Maybe they're giving more, touches to Westbrook and Malik Monk. I'd probably go C there. I'm not seeing too much of a change, and this
yeah,
isn't pushing the needle in either direction, really.
yeah.
Um, and then for the Bulls, they got some picks out of that. I'd give them a B for that for sure.
Fair. Yeah.
Gave up very little.
The with the Atlanta and Portland trade is something similar to what Chicago did, like or
Mm,
yeah, Chicago in the last trade. Like it's like a I give them like a C plus. I mean, I do not know much about Duop Reith.
mm,
But 2 second round picks and you get rid of Vit. I had seen like some plays and stuff from Vit, and I thought he seemed like a talented point guard, but I mean, I believe he's a bit older,
mm,
so I don't really know what. To me, it was just like some of these lesser known guys. A lot of them seem like getting some just picks in return for just moving on from a guy who may be slightly more valuable,
mm.
at least in their eyes. But it doesn't move the needle for me either. Where I give the Hawks a C plus because they get some picks. And I give Portland a C just due to my lack of ball knowledge with it. Like I'll be respectful there. You gotta bow out when you don't know.
Yeah. Um, So for this one, I mean, we're talking about a 8 minutes per game player
Yeah,
who is not doing really much of anything in Duop Reith for the Blazers. I don't want to I don't want to completely minimize any one NBA player's impact. Obviously, they're all very good.
yeah,
It's just it's not change. It's not a game changing thing for them to lose him. But picking up Vit, I think, is actually really great. He's putting up more points per game than Duop Reith is minutes, and he is a very efficient 3-point shooter, which is something that the Trailblazers definitely need right now. So I think, given what, a couple second round picks, yeah, giving up very little. I'd give them an A minus for this. I think this was a good pickup.
mm,
I
okay. I
mean,
mean, yeah,
besides, if it's without the picks, that's an A for sure, just because it's turning maybe a negative player into a high positive in terms of what they need right now.
okay, yeah. I think that seems fair. Um, with Memphis, this is the first blockbuster here, so I'll sit up for this one.
Yeah.
Um, the Memphis and Jazz one, that one was a bit of a shock. You know, I was
Mhm.
driving in the car at work, and I see the notification on my watch, Jaren Jackson Jr. to the Jazz, and I'm thinking, man, did they move like Ja and him both? Like, are the Jazz like I just a million different thoughts went through my head. Um, but I'd say for the most part, it's confusing for both sides. For Utah, you get Jaren Jackson Jr. And you get John Conchar, Landale, which I think they've already moved on from it, and he's somewhere else. Vince Williams Jr. Um, to me, I was a bit confused because it seemed like something you do. Maybe you buy Jaren Jackson Jr. if you're a contender. You have the space to get his $35 million contract. I would not expect Utah Jazz to do that, especially when it's such a good draft class coming up. Like they didn't give up their 2026 picks, but they gave up two 2027 picks, first rounders, and a 2031. It just was very confusing with Lauren Markkinen and Walker Kessler. I was shocked, um, and giving up three first round picks for him. I will say from the talent that they actually moved on from Juan Clean Jr., Taylor Hendricks, George Niang, I don't think that that's really moved the needle for anyone. Neither is Cal Anderson, which it looks like it's just the rights to. Um, I'd say it was a shocker for Memphis. I think they got back three first round picks for Jaren Jackson Jr. How many did they get back? Four for Desmond Bain. I mean, for what they're trying to do, I give them like a B to maybe even B plus. Um, and for Utah, it's a C with a question mark for me. Like I don't really. I feel like I maybe need to see the bigger picture first.
Mhm.
Maybe like there's more to be done in the off season. I thought there was going to be moves later, but for me, it's a C with a question mark because I don't really know what the step is from here. And if I knew that, it might change the game for me like a lot. Maybe they have big moves planned in the off season, but right now it just seems confusing. So I'll go C with a question mark for Utah Jazz, and I'll go B for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay, yeah. So I do get more of a sense about Memphis for sure. I mean, these are not the best first round picks. We're talking about a first round pick from the Lakers next year. That's definitely going to be, 20 to 30. Um, and then or 2025 to 20 to 25th pick. And then we have another one from Phoenix in 31. That could be anything, in my opinion. I have no
Mm,
idea. It could be the most valuable pick. It could, be one of those things where we look back in 5 years and we go, "Oh my gosh, the Memphis Grizzlies made turn Jaren Jackson Jr. into a whole bunch of something," which they
yeah,
always do. Every time a player gets traded for draft picks, they love to look back later and be like, "Look what this draft pick turned into," and
yeah,
make it seem like that somehow had anything to do with the trade at the time. Like that, like, hindsight is always 2020. So
right.
I like this for Memphis. They're definitely focusing on their future. I am disappointed that they did not trade Ja at this deadline, because now it's kind of like, what are they trying to do? I would want to start building chemistry, start building a younger core. I mean, they already have a pretty solid young core right now, so I'd want to continue to build on top of that using these assets like John Morant, who seems to be somewhat dysfunctional on the Grizzlies and with who they currently have. Um, but for this trade in particular, I think I'm giving Memphis a B plus. The players are a little bit lackluster, but the picks are very nice.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that they chose to trade Jaren Jackson Jr. Period, just because I don't think he worked for them. And then for the Jazz, I like that pickup. It's good to have a defensive. I mean, they're going to have two shot blockers in him and Walker Kessler, which I love, especially since they can both shoot, and Walker Kessler
Mm,
can certainly get the rebounds and alleviate that kind of pressure on Jaren Jackson Jr. since he really is not a good rebounder at all.
yeah.
Probably the worst for his height. Um, so I like the fit. I like the fit a lot. You're also pairing him with another good shooter at the three, potentially in Lauri Markkanen if they choose to play him there. And I like that shooting combination. I think they're going to be very scary if they're all healthy and they play to their expectations at least. Obviously, Keontae George is coming into his own right now, getting a lot better throughout the season. And then Ace Bailey has been turning some heads as well. So they've been talking a lot online about this really tall lineup with all five of them out there.
Yeah.
Ace Bailey being 6'9". So I think it could be pretty cool. And I like that they picked out Jock because he's been, I think, a really good fill-in center for the Grizzlies when they've been dealing with injuries. Um,
Yeah.
and John Conchar, who you wouldn't even recognize if you ran into him in public. I don't know if you remember that video that he did, or he or podcast or something where he talked about that.
I think I remember the podcast. I don't remember the player. That's how memorable he
Yeah,
is.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So I would probably give them. I think I'd go B plus on this too. I think they both kind of won on
For
this,
Utah,
filling their specific needs.
B plus for Utah.
Yeah.
That's
What did you say?
I guess I gave him like a C with a question mark. I
Really?
just I guess I'm just confused because where they're at now, to me this is like Keontae George, Ace Bailey, who is it? Bryce Sensabaugh, who and I guess
What did you
what
say?
you've
You
had
said
Lord.
Jesus Christ. Shout out Pablo Escobar.
Shout out Pablo
Escobar.
Escobar.
Not Escobar. That's
Yeah.
that's the real guy. Shout out Pablo Escobar.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess you have Lauri Markkanen at the three, and then you have Jaren Jackson at the four, and you have Walker Kessler at the five when it's all said and done.
Mm,
I guess it was just confusing to me because it didn't seem like a team that was ready ready to make that move. I thought of all the teams that could have pulled the trigger and got Jaren Jackson Jr., the Jazz was like the bottom of the list. And when I mean bottom of
mm.
the list, I mean that like I wouldn't even thought of a mock trade for the Jazz with the Grizzlies because it just made no sense. I like Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler next to each other. So getting Jaren Jackson Jr. just feels like, okay, we're gonna move our other 7-footer to the three. And I never liked Lauri Markkanen out there because when they did run another team who ran a similar lineup to that was Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, and Lauri Markkanen in Cleveland, and it didn't work. They got
Mm,
cooked. So I'm like, when I'm looking at this, I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out or they got cooked in the playoffs against Trae Young. I
mm,
think they're in the play-in because that the perimeter D was like bad. So I don't know what this one looks like.
mm.
Like I said, when it's all said and done, it may look amazing and then maybe super wrong. So that's why I was like,
Yeah.
I gave him a C just because I don't know what to expect. But I do get it though, pairing Jaren Jackson Jr. with Walker Kessler, and it
Mm.
just feels like it leaves Lauri Markkanen kind of like an odd man out to get pushed to the three.
Yeah. I definitely do feel that Jaren Jackson Jr. is a more versatile defender than Evan Mobley.
Mm,
So I think that'll help too. If they can even fit in a defensive specialist two guard, either in the starting position or coming off the bench, I think that could really be scary having defense from top to bottom. Um, Somewhat similar to how I kind of see the Wolves. They've got great perimeter
mm.
defenders at the wings, great, interior defender, great perimeter defenders in the guards as well. We'll get into that a little bit more later, though.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of the Wolves, this is the first time the next trade is the first time they actually get active.
Yeah, right.
Chicago acquiring Jaden Ivey, Mike Conley, Detroit acquiring Kevin Herter, Dario Saric, who was just picked up from Chicago earlier,
Mm.
2026 first round pick swap, and Minnesota cash considerations. Um, I'm gonna let you go first because I know that this one
Yeah.
was particularly interesting for you.
Yeah, so this was the beginning of the Bulls' chaos and their pursuit of every point guard in the league.
Yeah,
And so they pick up Jaden Ivey and Mike Conley. And if you're a Pistons fan, you've probably felt the same way about Jaden Ivey as other fans have about their player who never quite developed the way you hope they did. So when that happens, I think trading is the best option. They can definitely have value on another team because maybe it wasn't the right fit. This is probably true of Jaden Ivey. I know he was somewhat liked. I'm not too familiar with Pistons fans, but
mm,
um, that's a pretty proportional contract. He's the same same number as Mike Conley practically, which is not right at this point in this year, 2026. But for the Bulls, I think giving up Kevin Herter, who he's a good shooter. That's all I can
yeah,
say about him. And then they move on from Sarge. I think that's a pretty good pickup for that value. So I think I'm going to give the Bulls an A minus here because once again they didn't give up very much for a player who has still somewhat high expectations. I know they haven't been met yet,
yeah.
but I think people are still willing to give Jaden Ivey a chance to
Because he's had
develop.
some good games this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, he's yeah,
And once again, it's not about is he bad or good. It's about is he meeting the expectations that we had of him when he was first drafted. And yeah, so I think this is a good pickup for the Bulls. And obviously they'll move on from Mike Conley after this. So that's kind of a non-factor. Or not non-factor, but it's part of another trade. So we'll get into that. The Pistons, though, they get a first round pick. What is that? Oh, that's the
Minnesota
Minnesota protected
protected
swap.
swap.
That's so many words. I can't even remember what the specific implications of this trade are. I don't know who it's protected by. I guess it's protected by Minnesota. It's a swap with the Pistons
I
now, or
believe because I've seen some of them like the top three protected picks. Like if
mm,
that team were to get a pick in the top three, then they would like likely get it back. 'Cause I think that's the way it works. Like if it meets a certain criteria, they can.
yeah.
Because NFL has certain policies too, where it's like a conditional third round pick. So like but for this one, I don't know exactly what the protection is. But Minnesota is
Yeah.
protected somehow. So you guys may get it back. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that's I mean I know there's something to do with it there. I'm just curious about what it is exactly.
Yeah,
I was gonna look at the pics here. I'll do that when you talk though. But
yeah.
I think for the Pistons, they get some shooting. They get a big contract. I think it's expiring. Maybe he has one more year. I don't love the contract, but it's good to move on from Jaden Ivey because sometimes when it's just not a good fit and it's not, or I guess it's just not really working out for a particular player, it's fine to just move on from him and try to get something back. And then Darius Arch is kind of whatever. I'll give them a C plus.
Mm.
I mean, I guess no, they get the first round pick. I'll go B on this. I changed my mind because
What
the
about
pick
what
is
about
is is likely not going back to the Timberwolves if I understand it to be the way that it is.
it's likely not.
Yeah. And then for the Wolves, they cleared up space. They I think got under the first apron, if I'm not wrong, and that is important for later as well. So I'll give them a B plus, but it's kind of weird because this trade is like it doesn't necessarily mean the things that follow will follow.
Yeah,
And we definitely expected it to help bring us Giannis, and it didn't. So it's kind of like a mystery thing. Like it could have worked out, could have not worked out. It ended up kind of working out for us in the end, but that
yeah,
isn't because of this trade, you know.
yeah. I
So
think
I'll go. Yeah.
honestly, what you said pretty much oh oh my lord, um pretty much captures my thoughts. I thought it was good for Chicago to pick up Jaden Ivey. Um, Zooming in on this specific trade, I thought that's a good trade. Zooming out on all the guards they picked up, very confusing. But in this specific trade, I was like, Jaden Ivey's a young two guard. Still think he's very talented. Mike Conley, I'm sure that they're just taking on the contract for Minnesota. And they got compensated with Jaden Ivey for it. So for them, I honestly give them B. Um, for Detroit, Kevin Herter averaging like 10 points per game. He's still like a valuable shooter. So I'm like, for them, I think that's always going to be a value in the league. Dario Saric and getting a first round pick back in return for Jaden Ivey, a player who's probably not going to work out for you anyways, and you don't get a amazing contract with 17 million from Kevin Herter, but I mean you do get another two guard back who's reliable and a first round pick. Like yeah, honestly B plus for them. If the contract was a little bit better, I may give them like an A minus. Um, and then for Minnesota, with the thought in mind, what you're trying to do here, you're giving up, $10 million contract for Mike Conley. Your 2026 pick this year is not going to be valuable. I mean, you pretty much just freed up 10 million in cap space. I give him a B. Like I couldn't go anything higher, but I still do respect. I understand the thought process they had behind it. I think it was a pretty balanced trade. It looked weird, but it was a pretty balanced trade overall. And yeah. So I the actual one though that trips me out, or the first, I won't say this is the first blockbuster because Jaren Jackson Jr. was definitely had a lot of like that definitely was a shell shock for a lot of people. But the Cleveland trade for James Harden and LA acquires Darius Garland. We touched on it a little bit to start the live, but I think my honest thoughts on this were I saw a video literally before I even saw the notification. It was like, yeah, Darius Garland, James Harden. Yes, Darius Garland, he's worse than every statistical category, but he's a little bit younger. He's a little bit younger though. Hold on. Um, so I don't know how much Cleveland or how much LA is believing in Darius Garland. So for me, I thought James Harden immediately boosts your ceiling, but I don't know if he boosts your floor. I think like it makes their outlook like, okay, obviously you're trying to go win now. Um, but James Harden has been known to be the system everywhere he goes. And you're going into Cleveland where I don't think he is going there to be the system. Like I still think it's Donovan Mitchell's team. And he's going there to hopefully try and compliment him as best he can. But James Harden has said everywhere he goes, he's a system. So the risky part of this trade for me is you get James Harden. Nobody's denying his talent, but you get him, and your hope is that he's going to mesh with the rest of this team after the All Star break so well, and he's going to boost your chances in the playoffs. I don't know how likely that is. That a person who's been the system everywhere he goes, is going to get in such a swing with his new team and not be that guy. So for me, even though you traded away a player who is younger and honestly injury prone for a player who is better, a little bit older though, you maybe only get like what 2 years out of him. Um, I give him a B. I give him a B. I think even though Darius Garland is much younger, I still don't think they did a disservice to themselves in trading away Garland. So I'll give Cleveland a B. And obviously, in hindsight, a couple months from now, if they're really good, then obviously my take may change and be like, oh God, they're really smart with the move they made actually. Um, but for now, it's a B. And for LA, getting Garland again, he's younger. I don't think it's like astronomically younger than James Harden. You can fact check me on that later. Um, but I mean, it's really banking a lot on like you just want a younger guy to give you a couple more years, and James Harden's not going to give you that. You get a second round pick back. I would love to potentially see in a first there, to be honest. Like you are giving up a lot of talent, James Harden. So for me, I honestly give the Clippers for different reasons. I also give them a B, mostly because I mean it's banking on their future. They don't think that they're gonna go on the stretch that they're on now for the rest of the season. That's my impression of it. So they're thinking like, well, let's go ahead and take out what we can get now versus going the rest of the season losing and then being stuck with two older players in Harden and Kawhi. I think they just try to cash out on his talent now. Darius Garland was the best you could get. I'm not mad at it. B for both sides um, for this situation. I'll give both B's. Hey, hold on real quick. I don't think I can't hear you.
I was muted. You should
There
have
we
been going
go.
so much sooner.
Sorry about that. Go ahead and take it from the top, bro.
Yeah, so I think for James Harden going to Cleveland, that's a big ceiling raiser just because, like you said, he's a big plus in every statistical category pretty much. For me, the number one needle pusher is his playmaking. I definitely think James Harden
Mm,
can take a step back to let others score and be a more of a playmaker. He's done it in the past. He did it in Philadelphia. His points per game went down and his passing went up. In Brooklyn, his passing was up. Even towards the end of his Rockets tenure, and so I think I think last year too he averaged nearly 10 assists a game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he can be that guy for the Cavs. And when you look at the Clippers, who's been scoring this year? It's just
mm,
been pretty much Harden and Kawhi, right?
kinda, yeah. I
Like,
know Kawhi had exploded for that big 55-point game.
yeah, but if I'm looking at the points per game right now, the next guy on the list is John Collins with 13.5 points per game. James
Mm,
Harden has been averaging 25 because he has to. There's no one
yeah,
else creating offense like him. There's no one else who is scoring like him besides, once again, Kawhi Leonard, who's been fantastic. Um, but why do you think they struggled so much when Kawhi was injured? You know, so
yeah,
I think he can definitely be the playmaker. I know he's been the system in the past, but I think for the Cavs, it's going to help the bigs score a little bit more because they've both taken a little bit of a drop in their scoring numbers. And I don't think Donovan Mitchell is necessarily going to have a problem with it. In fact, I think it's going to help him a lot with getting open because they're both guys that are going to, have a lot of gravity and bring in a lot of attention when they have the ball in their hands. So I give this an A minus for the Cavaliers because I know they're trying to win now. If they don't like how it's working out, they could potentially sign and trade him next year with him having a player option. And if he really declines to the point of losing value or something like that, because he is getting up there in age, he only has one more year after this potentially on his contract. Versus Darius Garland has been disappointing on just as high of a contract that's going for 2 to 3 more years.
mm,
So I think that now is the time, especially after his numbers are looking a bit better than they did at the beginning of the season, but he's still not as efficient as you'd like him to be, and he's not as good of a playmaker as we'd like him to be. Um, so for the Clippers, though, James Harden forced their hand essentially with his ask out, or not. Sorry, not necessarily. You told me it was maybe not true.
potential. I don't know if
Potentially, we
Harden could
never
be
know with these
capping.
guys.
He doesn't want to take the
Um,
blame for 4 trade requests in 6 years. He doesn't
right.
want that.
So, uh, the Clippers get Darius Garland, who is, I think, not a bad choice to start rebuilding with. If you can move on from Kawhi and get some good young value in return for that, Darius Garland is 26, so he's kind of at the end of his I guess being considered young.
Yeah,
Like I think 25. They always say under 25 or something. So he's kind of started, um, or he's going to stop being referred to as a young guy to build around. But now is the time to pick him up and try to start that process. I like it for the Clippers. I like moving on from James Harden because that wasn't working out. And what better opportunity for him to show what he can do offensively than a team that lacks a strong offensive presence from the 1 through the
Yeah.
5. So for the Clippers, I'm gonna give them a B plus. I do think Harden right now is a better player, and the Cavs have a more clear idea of what they're trying to do than the Clippers do. So given that, I definitely will give the Clippers a B plus, a little bit less than the Cavs.
That seems fair. Yeah, I thought I thought they overall were pretty even based off what they're
Yeah,
each trying to do. I thought they were pretty
yeah,
even. Um, moving on to the next bigger star player trade. Dallas acquiring Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley, 2 first-round picks and 3 second-rounders. Washington acquiring Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell, Jaden Hardy, Dante Exum. I'd say right off the rip, it was a little bit like a shell shock, and I think for some people, I think Brian Windhorst referred to it as they're taking their rebuild out of the oven before it's fully baked, and I thought that was a really good comparison for it. But I don't think it exactly fits. I don't think it exactly fits what the move looked like. I think the biggest issue for the Washington Wizards um, is the contracts between Anthony Davis and Trey Young. If they can get that worked out to be in their favor, because Anthony Davis, he goes to 56 million next year, and then it's 62 million in his third season with the team. So it's terrible contract. Um, and for Trey Young, he's about well, I think it's 48 million. He's going to move up a little bit closer to 50 million in his second season with them. But they got them both for technically multi-year, so they get to see them together. Hopefully next season, and then you get to kind of decide if you want to continue this. Um, but based off how they handle that contract situation, I'm willing to almost give them an A. Mostly because I mean you're buying low on Anthony Davis. I think the most part that I really hate about this is that you get D'Angelo Russell back. I wouldn't want D'Angelo Russell. But if you're Washington, you do not. I don't care what anyone says. You did not give up. They did not give up too much for Anthony Davis. It's the lowest you're going to be able to buy Anthony Davis. We've seen Joel Embiid, the kind of what they've done with these guys, and they kind of had them put into like maybe he plays 42 games, maybe he plays 50 games in a season, but you kind of save him in hopes that you get to the playoffs and that you're able to win games without him. I'm willing to give them, I'd say A minus, A minus, um, just because I'm curious to see what they do with the contract. For Dallas, on the other hand, again, the two picks are cool, but the picks that they give them, 2026 OKC pick, essentially worthless. 2030 Golden State Warriors pick, that one could be good. That is post Curry retirement. It's going to be 2030. I mean, right now you see the moves that they made. They get Kristaps Porzingis. They're not in a rebuild. That pick could be worth something. 3 second-rounders, I'm not concerned with. Marvin Bagley, not concerned with. Malachi Branham, not concerned with. AJ Johnson, again, they got Trey Johnson. If it would have been Trey Johnson, Trey looks a lot differently. AJ Johnson, I'm not worried about that. And Chris Middleton is $33 million of stealing minutes from valuable young guys who should be developing. So you buy low on an injured guy who's going to be out of the way with Trey Young, riding the bench, still letting your young guys develop, and you get to run it you get to start the whole thing next season. I don't think this is a bad trade for Washington at all. I give them an A minus. I give the Mavericks for the 2 first-round picks that they got. Honest to God, I give them a C. You got no valuable pick aside from the Golden State Warriors pick, and while all the names and all the the bullet points look nice, um, essentially nothing back for Anthony Davis. You get a first-round pick, so C, and I think that's being generous for them.
Yeah, yeah, Washington Wizards have been getting away with a lot this season. Um, yeah, they gave up Chris Middleton, who I have been advocating for them to trade, along with before CJ McCollum was traded. I was advocating for them to trade away both of them while they still can. So
Yeah.
I think that alone sends the Wizards into the A category.
Mm.
Obviously, we have the Anthony Davis contract, which we're talking 1 more year plus a player option after that. If it works out, no complaining. It is a little early, but Alex Sarr is looking good, and I think it would be good for them to play some meaningful basketball.
Mm,
At least feel like they're going to be a competitive team while these guys try to develop, which they're having some good progress with. So I think I'm probably gonna knock it down to an A minus for the Wizards as well. Because yeah, they got rid of the garbage contract of Chris Middleton, and all three of those guys. Otherwise, I when I went to go see Wizards games this year, these are the guys that I saw after the Wizards got blown out.
mm,
You know,
yeah,
um, they're small contracts, so they're proportional to the kind of players they are. And I think, yeah, the Golden State pick is going to be valuable. This is one of those ones that I think there's less mystery about just because the
yeah,
Golden State Warriors didn't show that they were going to do anything to kind of protect their future. So definitely going to be a high pick. We're talking about 5 years into Cooper Flag's um, career, and maybe down the road, clip this. Maybe down the road, this will help them bring in somebody else to play alongside him. Maybe there's a star that wants out of a team that's looking to rebuild, and suddenly this Golden State Warriors pick is extremely coveted. I
yeah,
think that could be interesting. Or pairing him up with someone 5 years down the line, if there's a guy who's ready to match Cooper Flag's timeline, because I do believe the Mavericks should be focusing solely on the Cooper Flag timeline.
yeah,
So I do like that they got rid of AD. Huge contract. It's gone now. They got to deal with the Chris Middleton contract. I don't know when that expires. Let me see. That one he's got that expires this year. So that's an expiring contract.
okay,
That's a good pickup. I think I'd give them a B minus. That Golden State Warriors pick could end up being pretty valuable.
mm,
And the only reason I kind of drop it so low to a B minus is I think they could have gotten a little bit more back for Anthony Davis. I'm not
yeah,
impressed with any of the players. I'm really more interested in the expiring contract and the first round pick. OKC first round pick, worst kind there is.
yeah,
Like the very worst. And that's a 30. That's practically a second round pick.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, B minus for the Mavericks.
yeah. I mean, it is fair. The Golden State Warriors, I could be undervaluing their pick. Um, I definitely agree. They probably can use that pick further down the road for something valuable. Which, hey, in hindsight, further down, it could be very interesting for them. Speaking of OKC, they trade the 2026 Houston pick, also very close to maybe Houston Rockets. Are they still in the last time I checked, I saw a clip of SGA telling Kevin Durant to enjoy the sixth seed. So I need to see how true that
Oh,
is when
they're
it comes to
they're
the
I think they're
standings.
technically the fourth or fifth seed right now.
They're the fourth. Okay, they're the fourth right now, 9 game behind. So I think that pick is still on the low grade of kind of this is like a very interesting. Um, I thought it was odd that the 76ers moved on from Jared McCain. I know he's been struggling, but I feel like a time you just have Paul George get suspended 25 games. Um, I thought there might be a time for him to get some minutes back in the rotation, maybe try and find his footing again. It just seems very early to kind of call on Jared McCain. And maybe they're not calling it. Maybe they just wanted some picks and everything back to kind of go with Maxey and Edgecombe, and they just don't want a guy competing for one of those positions when they know they're not gonna, they know that he's not gonna be anything more than coming off the bench with them. That seems fair. So if that's kind of their viewpoint from it, then I could say I can understand. I'd probably give them a B minus, just because Jared McCain could have found his footing a little bit better when he has to play more minutes, and you could have maybe appreciated his value a little bit more before sending him away. For OKC, I think it comes at a good time. SGA gets a abdominal strain. He's got to be evaluated after the All Star break, which is a rare injury for him. I mean, they're probably not going to call him an Iron Man, but he's very consistent with him like playing. He's always at a high level. Um, but it does come at a good time though, and for them having so many picks at their disposal, giving a Houston one away, not that big a deal for them. and they get a guard back in a rotation that could kind of help them. That could help them out if he were to perform. Kind of find his footing a little bit better there. I'd give them. I honestly give both teams B minuses. I
Okay.
think it's. I think it's fair for what they're trying to do. I think it's B minus across the board.
Yeah. So I kind of disagree about the Jared McCain aspect of it, or not the Jared McCain
Yeah,
aspect, but rather the Sixers aspect. I think they're pretty happy with their backcourt of VJ and Tyrese Maxey. And if Jared McCain does become the player who a lot of people, have who he looked like at least his rookie year,
yeah,
I don't think there's space for him. And
right.
so his value is low right now, especially compared to last season. And I think they're getting as much as they can out of that. And they are Thunder are buying low, but those picks could be pretty valuable in the future. So I'm looking at a gamble on a guard who may take up the minutes of guards that they already have, on a gamble of a pick out of a really good draft class, as well as some future picks, which I'm thinking, I think in my mind, think about this like a Sixers fan would. How would I value these second round picks? I value those second round picks as a pretty ribbon to put on Joel Embiid when they ship him off to another
Mm,
team. I don't think that it's working anymore. I think they should look to move him this summer, um, just because I think it's hurting what we have with Maxi here. We have what they have with Maxi here, and when you focus on Joel Embiid, you are then, I think, in a way, taking away from Tyrese Maxey's potential role as the guy for the Sixers, which it already looks like it is. You know.
yeah,
Anyways, getting back to the trade, um, for the Thunder, I give them a B plus. I think they got rid of some kind of chump change from their perspective,
yeah.
and they walk away with a potentially very good guard to come off the bench. And I'll give a B to the Sixers because that could turn into something interesting. And I think it is the right call with this kind of player, reminding me of the Jaden Ivey situation where
Mm,
at this point, maybe it's not the right fit. Maybe he's got to find a new home. It's just not working out, and he's not meeting the expectations that were set of him based on his rookie performance.
mm. I think no, that's fair. I think it's a move that probably won't get talked about a lot, especially after everything else. But I think it's an important move. Um, we got a couple of duds after this one.
Yeah.
Um, but I'll at least reach into the Chicago guard carousel before looking at those other
Yeah.
ones. Chicago acquiring Colin Sexton, Dieng, and sending away Kobe White and Mike Conley to the Hornets, and also 3 second round picks. Um, Makes no sense. This is almost non-gradable because I don't really understand. For the Hornets perspective, I thought Colin Sexton, when they got him, I was like, I love Colin Sexton. He's a winning player. Like he has a winning mentality. And I thought if they want to change the culture in Charlotte, you get players who want to win. And again, you have people who may look at Colin Sexton and think that he's like a goofier guy. You see like all the energy when he's like trying to guard the two guys in the one clip and he's going back and forth. But it's that type of energy that like people laugh at. But then at the same time, like he's giving you your all. And for a team like Charlotte that hasn't honestly looked like they've taken basketball seriously in years, that was a good signing. So I was a little bit confused that they're like, oh, we're gonna trade him for Kobe
Yeah.
White, and trading away Mike Conley, who they just got. It just or not who they just Mike Conley, who they just got. It was a little bit odd. It's just like swapping guys. And for Colin
Yeah.
Sexton going to Chicago, it's just odd. So for me, um, I give both of them C minuses. I don't get it. You get 3 second round picks. So actually, I'll change my take. You get 3 second round picks, and you still do get Kobe White back. I'll give Hornets a C plus. I'll give Chicago a C minus because I still don't. And when
Yeah.
they made this trade, they still have Giddy, they still have Ao Desuma, and they still have Jaden Ivey. So
Mm.
it does not make as much sense for Chicago. But I could understand getting 3 second round picks, how that might sway you if you're Charlotte. Give them a C plus. I give Chicago C minus.
Okay. I think it's also a weird fit. I expected the Hornets to move Kobe White before the end of the trade deadline, or until before the trade deadline. I mean, and they didn't. They obviously waived Conley at this point, so that was kind of a whatever aspect of the trade. They definitely wanted the second round picks, which I like. And in terms of like where he fits in, I don't think he's going to start. I think they really like Con Knuppel at the two, obviously LaMelo at the one. He's probably going to be their backup point guard. But it's kind of weird to have him as the backup point guard for a team like this, you know?
Yeah,
It's kind of strange. Um, but he has value, and maybe they move him this summer. You never know. I don't Let's see what his contract is right now. Um, yeah. Oh, that's an expiring deal. So maybe they're really only focused on those second round picks and they lose these guys by the end of the year, you know? And Conley
yeah,
already gone, of course. I'll give this a C plus, because whatever, guard for guard. Now it's an offensive guard instead of a defensive guard. Whatever. And then for the Bulls, I think they could have got they're just giving away second round picks for another point guard. And I have no idea what they're trying to do. Are they trying to rebuild? Are they trying to do something else with their like, I'm very confused because if I'm trying to rebuild and I'm the Bulls, I'm not giving away second round picks that I don't need to. Um, Maybe they really like
yeah,
Colin Sexton. Who knows? But I'm gonna give them a C minus for that.
yeah. So so odd. And one point in the trade deadline, I think it's still happening now. I think in post they don't have a player taller than 6'9".
6'9", yeah.
But I
J
think they got Richards. We have to look further
Oh,
and
yeah,
later into the day.
I
I
think they
think they
might
end
have.
up swapping. If it's
Yeah.
okay with you, I would love to skip the next three that are coming up. I do think
Yeah. 1 yeah.
I will say that Tyus Jones going back to Charlotte is a little bit, or going to Charlotte. That one's odd, especially after they just got Kobe White. But
Yeah,
no,
that made no sense to me.
out of those three, they make no sense. And if you ask for my grades, I probably couldn't give them to you. But fast forwarding, because we're already on the track with kind of a little bit curious about what Chicago's doing. Today they trade for, or this would have been. It says today, but this was yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, they trade Anthony. They trade for Anthony Simons and a second round pick, almost like a swap for 26 for 27. Um, and they send Vucevic away. Now I like sending Vucevic away because I wanted him to go to a contender, somebody he can actually compete with in his last season. So as a fan, I like Vucevic being able to be off Chicago, be out of Chicago.
Mm.
But from a trade standpoint, um, this doesn't make the most sense.
Yeah.
Like you say, you get another guard in Anthony Simons, and you trade away Vucevic, who at this point their backup center is Jalen Smith.
Yeah, I
Um,
like Jalen Smith,
I
honestly.
like Jalen Smith.
He's
Uh,
6'8" though, and he's not
he's a
I don't know if
shorter.
he's starting caliber.
I
Um,
don't. Yeah.
but they
So
don't really have a
it's
choice.
right.
Um,
It's very odd to go pick up another guard and not anything. Yeah, it's weird. So for Chicago, if that last year was a C minus, I mean this bumps it to like a D plus because now you're digging yourself into a further hole and you give away an offensive minded center, but a talented center nonetheless. I got I got Vucevic in fantasy. Shout out sleeper. Um, but he's a talented center nonetheless. So I'd say for Chicago, you get a D plus because I'm very confused. If it and honestly, like the more if I see another guard, it'll just go to a D. For them a D plus, and they take on 6 million extra dollars. I don't know if that's an aspiring contract for Anthony Simons or not. And then for Boston, I mean you get another big like you get a big. They I thought what's his name Kita. I thought he was been doing like solid work for them at the five in Boston. Um, but having Vucevic, I mean that actually puts them going back to our other video, our other episode. I mean it honestly puts them at like a they were in the lottery to pretender category or for me I believe, but now it's like I could give them a legit pretender. like I could give them a legit pretender. Like I think they're gonna beat I think they're gonna beat some teams, and I think they're gonna I think they took in a step. You got Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jalen Brown, who will be at their four. Um, I guess they traded Chris Boucher. I don't
Wait,
know.
you're talking about their 4 right now without
Yeah,
Tatum?
they're four. Yeah, they're four right now without
Oh,
Tatum.
it's, Sam Hauser.
Sam Hauser and Vucevic. I mean, I think their team got better. Like, I mean, their starting lineup got better. Um,
Yeah, I think the key here, though, is
B by the way. I think it's a
okay.
B.
I think the key here is, making sure you play your centers at the right moments.
Hmm.
And I say that because, I think Kita is probably definitely considered a better defender overall than
Yeah,
Vucevic, and, Vucevic is a poor defender,
yeah,
which is not great for the Celtics. He does offer the three-point shooting, which they love to have at the 5 position, and that's what makes them so scary is they can go 5 out, and they have all kinds of guys who can make, buckets. Um, so I think it is a positive for them, and I think they gave up some redundancy at the guard position. I think they're fine with Pritchard and White. I didn't even think they needed to get Simons in the first place. So I'm pretty fine with that, honestly. And so I'd probably give them a B plus just because they gave up something they didn't really need for something that is an improvement, but I
yeah.
don't know if it makes them contenders. I will say it might affect Jason
Pretenders,
Tatum.
pretenders,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pretenders.
But it probably if or not probably, but I would think it would affect Jason Tatum's decision to return this season because his biggest point was messing up the flow that they've developed this season so far. And if they're already switching up a pretty major position, we're talking about starting position on the team. I think he
Yeah.
might as well, especially when they're lacking the defense at the in the 4 and 5, because I don't believe Sam Hauser is that strong, and maybe you sub in Kita at the right moments when they really need defense, and maybe that works out. It's like subbing Carl Anthony Towns out for Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
You take out the shooter for the defender. So B plus because it's a net positive in my opinion. Um, and for the Bulls, I know they have a lot of guards right now, but Anthony Simons is one of the guards that stands out to me the most. And so I would say buy into that situation, because I think if he gets some starter minutes, he'll show a lot more flashes of being basically Damian Lillard Jr.
Mm.
So I don't think he's been quite given the opportunity on the Celtics, only playing 24 minutes a game, 24, 25. I mean, he's averaging 22 on 40% from three nearly per 75 possessions, which I
Mm.
like as a shooting guard. Um, then again, Colin Sexton is averaging nearly the same thing, but on higher assists. So I don't know if they'll have their pick of the draw. They can really choose
They
whoever
got
they want.
options. I'll give them
I
that.
would
They
I
got
would
options.
probably go A minus for this specific trade because I do like them getting a guard, but because of all of the other trades, I think it does make it worse afterwards. So at the time of the trade, I really liked it. After the trade, when they didn't move any of their other guards that much, I
Okay.
don't like it as much anymore.
You know what? That's I mean, I probably zoomed out a little too much. That specific trade didn't sound crazy. You are right on that front. It's just I think it's the post thing that really said it
Yeah,
made it
it,
weird. Yeah.
yeah. So the trade itself, I think, is an A minus because they didn't move anything else afterwards. Like, say, if they did this at the very end instead, I would probably call it a B, just because. What the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
Sorry, cut that. What the heck are they doing?
Yeah.
Um. So yeah.
That's fair.
A minus slash B.
I'd say couple of the next ones I'll probably zoom through so we can get to the Jonathan
Yeah.
Kuminga trade. Um, Lonzo Ball to Jazz. I mean,
Good
he gets
riddance.
salary
$10
dump for
million
Cleveland.
dollars waste of
You get
money.
two you get two second round picks. Shout out Utah.
Yeah. Nothing to
Utah
do with
sends
it.
away Jock Landale, frees up 2 million in cash considerations. Again, I mean they're just
They
dropping off.
picked up Jaren Jackson Jr., they don't really need that
They
anymore.
don't really need it, right? Trace Jackson Davis sent to Toronto for a second round pick from Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors second round pick. Um, this came, I believe, this came after the Porzingis trade. Because if it would
Yeah,
have came,
I think
yeah,
I heard it afterwards too.
yeah. So I mean, this pick was obviously when they made this trade afterwards. I don't think anyone cared about it because of
Mm.
the Porzingis trade. Um, I still don't care about it. I'm not a big, I'm not
It's
a
an
big Trace
LA
Jackson.
pick, man.
Yeah, yeah. You got our second round pick, so I don't know. I little
You're just happy the Warriors didn't trade Draymond to the Lakers.
yes, I am happy about that, and I think I was just happy that that was like just kind of like thrown to the wayside because
Yeah,
really when I saw the Kaminga trade, I finally was like, man, finally this falls. Like finally this is done. It's
yeah.
been so extremely tiresome for like the past 2 years. It's felt like
Yeah,
of like, oh, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
yeah.
He's worse than Giannis at this point. Like, I don't know. So seeing that domino fall was great. Watching the Golden State Warriors absolutely become a travesty um, since using their GM and Bob Myers. Um, this was probably to me probably the worst move of the entire deadline. And some people try to give Warriors some uh, I don't know. They tried to give them some leeway. I think it's one of the worst moves. Kristaps Porzingis is has injury prone big at this point in his career. You trade away a power forward that again he's not going to get you. Jonathan Kuminga was never going to be reach his ceiling in Golden State anyways. It wasn't the right fit. They should have made this move a year plus ago. And then you practically just give them Buddy Hill for free. So to me, right, you give them a talented power forward who, depending on what you value, Porzingis can play very well when he plays. That's when he plays.
Yeah,
Jonathan Kuminga is a little bit inconsistent and he's not quite at the level of Porzingis, but he probably, to me, he's going to be available a lot more often. $7 million cheaper. And then you get Buddy Hill, like I said, basically, I think for free. I think
yeah.
Golden State
They were
on top,
barely playing him to start.
yeah. And for Golden State, if you're just looking at the players, it's not even. But then you talk about the actual situation that they're in, where they're trying to push for a championship for Steph Curry, and you're telling me you give him Kristaps Porzingis when Jimmy Butler already tore his ACL. You give him an injury-prone center, so you don't even have a fully healthy team. What are we doing if you're Golden State? So for me, I'll take back the Chicago Bulls getting the D plus. Yeah, I'll bump them up to probably like a C with the Anthony Simons trade, just straight up. This would probably be D worthy for me. Bleacher Report has them at an A, by the way. That's gross misuse of their
Yeah,
platform. That is crazy. This trade was actually, I think, stupidly bad.
yeah, I mean, they're trying to salvage Curry's chances of, being a playoff contender in any capacity. To he's still a very good player going into his older age, and we don't know how much longer we have this Curry. Uh, and they were pursuing Giannis, and the
Yeah.
best they could come up with was Porzingis. And I was a firm believer that they should have been targeting Michael Porter Jr. and Nick Claxton, get a small forward,
Mm,
replace Butler, move on from Butler. As a former Jimmy Butler was on my team guy,
mm,
or I guess current Jimmy Butler was on my team guy. Um,
yeah.
I don't think he needs to, be respected in terms of like, oh, we shouldn't move him just because he's injured. Like, yeah, you should, because he never gave the teams he was on any chances to work with him. I don't think. I don't know. I just didn't like it. I think they should have moved on from him, used that contract, pursued Michael Porter Jr. I mean, they would have used that contract if they were going after Giannis. No,
They would have had to.
right? And so I think if you think you can get Giannis, then you should also think that you can get Michael Porter Jr. and Nick Claxton, and then you're actually doing something to maybe keep Curry's chances alive of playoff contention. So for the Warriors, I'm giving this a C minus. I really don't like it. I don't think it is enough. Maybe if Jimmy Butler was still playing, I would like it because they're basically giving up 2 players that are injured, and I even proposed a trade to you a while back, months ago, involving
Mm,
Porzingis to the Warriors because I thought the fit was good, but if
yeah,
Porzingis is gonna be your number 2 guy, that's not reliable. As a number 3 guy, okay, maybe so,
yeah,
but not as your number 2. So I am not a fan. And then the Hawks get rid of a guy they don't really need, and they pick up another good shooter and Kuminga, who could be valuable potentially. We don't really know because we haven't seen him on a team that he hasn't been having problems with.
yeah,
There's no telling how good he could be getting away from Steve Kerr, who regardless of who is the problem, there is a problem.
yeah, absolutely. And
I'd like to talk about this next trade very much so.
yeah, I will say Atlanta Hawks. I did not give them a grade. I give them a B
Oh, yeah.
plus. B plus, borderline A minus.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. All right. Yeah. Next trade. Go ahead.
So, I like this one a lot. I
For
was
Yabusele?
really, really upset when I found out that we passed up on Kobe White, um, when we traded Mike Conley, because you know how badly we needed a point guard, and that would have been
Yeah.
practically for free. Despite his expiring contract, because we are competing this season. So when we did that, and it was clear that we were no longer going out, and then at the point where we were no longer going after Giannis, I was really upset that we didn't go after a point guard, and I was hoping something was going to happen. I think I checked my phone the moment this happened. Like I refreshed on Twitter, and boom, it was there.
Mm.
And I didn't realize how good Io's been this year.
Yeah.
I knew he was, like, good. Like I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this looks good, actually." We gave up Rob Dillingham, who's been disappointing. He's on a $6.5 million contract, um, and he's barely playing for us, so I'm ready to move on. Another situation, like I've named before, sometimes it just isn't working out. Sometimes you have to try a new home for a player and see what you can get
Mm.
back for him. Leonard Miller, I have never been a fan of. I wanna make that very clear. As a Wolves
Mm.
fan, I just didn't like this guy in terms of him as a basketball player. I know he was, like, put up some good stats in the G League or something. I could never get behind it. The second round picks hurts a little bit,
Yeah.
but they're not the worst ever. I mean, we're talking about second round picks until 2032, and we're only talking about 4. Um, and once again, I expect us to be good going through 2032 with Anthony Edwards being in his prime. Um, I'm happy giving this up for Io. Julian Phillips, I have to read up more on, but my other big takeaway is we're net $1 million after this trade, and we
Mm.
were net negative $10 million, or sorry, not yeah, like we saved $10 million on the Mike Conley trade. So after
Yeah.
from the beginning of the season, we're now saving $9 million. I'm happy with that. I don't know if we're under the cap or we might be over the first apron now, but I'm not really too upset. We're saving some money, which has always been a problem, I think, in Minnesota. We always have these major contracts because we're trying to get people to stay. you
Yeah.
know? So then I looked more into Io. He's averaging 26 minutes per game about, and in the last 2 seasons, he averaged about 30 across them.
Mm.
In the last 2 seasons, he averaged 12 points per game both years. This season, he's averaging 15. That's a 4-minute per game drop and a 3-minute per or point per game rise.
Yeah.
That is really productive. He's also shooting over 45% from 3. I'm not familiar with this game outside of what the numbers tell me, but I have been
Yeah.
hearing from online discourse that he is a positive defender and that he is a downhill force. And if those
Mm.
2 are true, I don't know. Sorry guys, I don't watch a lot of Bulls basketball.
Yeah.
Um, that's huge for the Wolves. We got a cheap contract, relatively cheap contract for a guy who is going to add another valuable guard to our rotation. I think we didn't just struggle in having a real point guard, but we also struggled in having guard depth. because as soon as you leave Anthony Edwards and Dante DiVincenzo, you're looking at Bones Highland, who's been having some good games this year, but is not the most consistent and is also taken some defensive strides, but once again, not the best defensive guy. And then you
Yeah.
have Mike Conley and Rob Dillingham, who have been nothing short of disappointing. So I'm very happy with this addition. Uh, we'll see how his playmaking is, just because he's been playing with other guys who have been the primary playmaker. Maybe if we put him into that role, we'll be pleasantly surprised. But
Yeah.
overall, big net positive. I'm giving this an A. I would only give it an A plus if there were like fewer picks involved.
Yeah.
But I'm giving this an A for the Wolves. For the Bulls, they picked up a bunch of picks. They got rid of one of their guards. Thank
Yeah.
God. But they picked up another point guard. They picked up what is kind of a shooting. He's actually played a little bit of small forward too, so like a 1 through 3 guy for a real true one who you would never want at the 2. So
Yeah.
for the Bulls, I'm giving this a C plus. I don't know. I don't
That's
think.
it.
I mean, unless they can turn Rob Dillingham's career around or turn these second picks into something, I don't expect much out of this.
I honestly think that that's fair. I thought it was a good trade for Minnesota, and I thought you just get some value out of Desumo, which I'm a fan of Desumo, by the way. Before we move on, I'm a fan of Desumo. I think it became playing 2K, and it was a Chicago rebuild, and I remember it was like rookie season. I was like, man, this guy is sick. I was just like, and then since then, I was like, I have Gideon fantasy, so Desumo was on my roster for like a good bit. Of course, as soon as they traded Minnesota, I went to go pick him up because I'm like, man, I think he's going to do great in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he was already picked up. I think he's going to do great in Minnesota. I think it's going to be a good fit, and I'm excited to see it. Um,
Yeah.
I would love to talk this one.
Yeah.
Not that there's much to
Did you
say.
did you grade did you grade the other two?
What? No, I'll let you have that. I honestly
Okay.
think that it was good thoughts, and that's honestly I share the same. Share the same sentiments. I thought it was a
Mm,
good trade for Minnesota, and I thought they got the value from what they could have gotten from the Sumo.
mm.
Um, for this one, it was a pleasant surprise, I will say the least. For a team, I got a notification yesterday that said we weren't going to make any moves because, like, we think we're a championship team, and I thought that, or playoff team, and I thought, who are we? What are we doing? Um, but for a team that had let everybody down, so we're not going to make any moves. I was pleasantly surprised with getting rid of Gabe Vincent. Like, I was actually very like, you know what? If we only made one move, I'm okay with this. Give away a second round pick, but that's okay. You say 500K, getting rid of Gabe Vincent, who's been nothing short of a not a fun guy to watch. For Luke Kennard and Luke Kennard, from what I saw, he's shooting almost 50% from the field. Um, and I'm gonna pull it up here in a second. Now, a lot of people had their thoughts when he got traded because they said that efficiency is gonna drop. He's shooting 53% from the field. He's shooting almost 50% from from with 3 pointers. He hasn't started any games this season, but he's played 20 minutes per game. He's averaging 8, 2, and 2. Like I said, he's very efficient. 53.8 or like 54% from the field, and 49% from three. Again, I hope his efficiency, if it could just stay the same, that's honest to me. I love that. Um, I think we have with Jake Laravia and Luca and Reeves. I think we have a lot of stuff, kind of a lot of bigger guard kind of archetypes. But I like if you're gonna move Gabe Vincent, I thought that was pretty cool. So I give Atlanta a C minus. I don't know what you could want in Gabe Vincent. I think, yeah, C minus. But you get a second round pick out of it, so hey, that's cool. For LA, honestly, I'm not gonna overhype it too much. It's a B plus. I'm not gonna give him like an A or nothing crazy. I mean, it's just a step
I
up from
agree
Gabe
with I
Vincent.
agree with those. You're giving away a guy that you really don't need on that team, and I guarantee
Yeah,
the rest of the Lakers fan base doesn't want on the team either,
yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah,
for a guy who's definitely more playable with the current roster. I
yeah.
was gonna say we can skip through most of these, maybe touch on just Chris Paul for a second to acknowledge,
I don't. Yeah,
and then
acknowledge
pick
Chris
it back
Paul.
up at, the Pacers.
Oh, absolutely. I love a lot of the pick. I'll say before we move on, Chris Paul. Shout out Chris Paul. Hopefully he actually. I know he said he doesn't have to report, but hopefully he does. And at least they can move him, or if they waive him, he signs someone else. I don't want his career to end yet. So
Yeah, yeah, I would like to
he
see
got done
him.
dirty.
I would like to see him waived and joining another team because I think he is valuable to have in the locker room.
Put
And
him at Minnesota. Let him help Basumu.
I don't know. We're looking at potentially re-signing Mike Conley, from what I've heard, which
Oh,
apparently is legal because he was traded twice.
okay. Okay.
So pick him up on a veteran. I wouldn't be upset.
Okay. So moving into the final stretch here.
Mm.
Um, Obviously one of the bigger trades of today. With the Indiana Pacers getting Zubac and Kobe Brown and sending away Benedict Mathurin, 2 first-round picks, Isaiah Jackson, and a 2028 second-round pick. I'll let you go first and give me your thoughts here.
What the heck?
You
Sorry,
hear me?
your thing looks different than mine for some reason.
Am I
That's
on
weird.
screen?
Yeah. And no, what's strange is that they're showing Charlotte acquires, but it's the Charlotte Bobcats logo on my screen for some reason. Also, the order is different, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
This is weird.
but
Anyways, you're talking about I was trying to figure that out. Indiana, LA.
Indiana LA trade. Yeah, what were your
I
thoughts
like
there?
Benedict Mathurin being put into a situation where he can get more minutes. He's very inconsistent. I had him on my fantasy for a little bit, and he was kind of annoying, but I
Yeah,
really
same
like the
here.
picks. I think what is it? They get the first round pick if it lands between 5 and 9, and maybe they're
Okay.
banking on Zubac's addition to kind of bump the Pacers up in the standings a little bit. Who knows? They
Hmm.
definitely have been lacking at the center position, so filling that gap and getting rid of a couple guys who weren't really hugely important to their success, not that they had any really. Um,
Yeah.
I think they're expecting them to go up a little bit, and I think someone said it's like 50-50 chance that Indiana keeps that. So, Clippers might get a really good pick in this draft out of it. They're getting a 2029 unprotected, which is another positive. We'll see how that ends up, turning out value-wise. Um, and so I'd probably give them I'm feeling but Zubac, I feel like they could have gotten a little bit more out of Zubac. I think I'm gonna give this a B minus is what I'm feeling,
Hmm.
for the Clippers, just because I think Zubac could have yielded a bit more, but I still like it for them. Um, and then especially pairing up Mathurin with Garland, I think that'll be interesting. And then Indiana, this is huge. This is,
Yeah.
I think, one of the best moves. I think I gotta give this an A plus because they still have
Oh,
a pretty decent chance of continuing to tank and not making and keeping that first round pick.
yeah.
Um, and if they both keep the pick and they pick up someone nice in the draft, which is very likely. Ooh, that's dangerous. They pick up a good
Yeah.
wing. Oh my god, that's scary in this draft class. So, if they end up getting that pick back because I really don't think like, you see it on that side, and it almost looks lopsided because of it, but it's really, really protected, you
Yeah,
know?
it is.
So because obviously they're not gonna drop or they're not gonna, drop to past the 10th pick in the draft. They're just too
Yeah.
bad. So it's really 1 through 5 or 5 through 9 or sorry, 1 through 4 or 5 through 9 gets the pick. That could be really good for them if they keep that. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna give them an A plus, and if they don't keep the pick, I'd still leave them with an A.
Mm.
'Cause I
No,
like
I
Zubac on that team. I think that's gonna be very dangerous.
Yeah, and I looking at Indiana from the past season because without Tyrese Halliburton, obviously they've been like poor, and then without Miles Turner, I mean it's really just been Jay Huff for reverse dunk all season. So I thought it was like acquiring Zubac. It's just one of those things like I didn't even know he's on the trade market. Like
Right,
I didn't even realize that that was a possibility. If I was a GM, I would have never even asked about Zubac. Like, and that would have been a disservice to my team. But
right.
I literally would have never thought that. So for this one, them being able to come up off of Zubac, um, them getting him alone, and you're getting away Benedict Mathurin. I'm not concerned with Isaiah Jackson. Like you said, that pick is very protected. Um, I mean,
Mhm.
it's very protected. The likelihood of pretty much you either drop 1 through 4 and it's ours, or 5 through 9 and it's yours, and
Yeah.
it's LA's. And like that is really 50-50, as 50-50 as it gets. And I'm gonna lean with the team that's been tanking and has been like really bad. Like the team that has been like for being in the finals last year, historically bad. Like that is amazing. That they would allow them to protect that pick that much.
Mm.
Um, even with the 10 through 30, like just like you know what, even extra. Um, I'd say I would agree with you that it is an A plus for Indiana because they can still tank, and they really protected that first round pick. If they didn't protect it that much, then this trade looks a lot differently. Um, but Benedict Mathurin, I mean, he's a young guy on the wing. He's been inconsistent, but I mean, he is talented. So having him next to Garland, I do like that. Um, I think both of these got potential. Indiana has potential to drop to like an A minus if they don't get their pick back. LA has a chance to jump from like a B for me to like an A plus if you were to take that pick from them and get like a fifth pick in the draft. Like that's an A plus. I'm sorry. They get the fifth pick
Fair
of the
enough.
2026 draft. So, but for right now, they're at a. I give LA a B. I give Indiana A plus. I share the same sentiment that I think that Zubac is a very good player, and it was very surprising to see him get traded. Um, but LA has like now like, we're going in this direction. Weird that they didn't come up off of Kawhi. Then it is weird,
Yeah.
um,
I mean, now
especially
is the
when it
ti
leaves you with
he's only gonna go down in value as he ages.
yeah. And I mean he's been playing great this year, and his like so I mean since he's returned, so it's been I don't think you're getting a 55 burger from Kawhi next season. So this one was odd. So, but like I said, I think it's an A plus for Indiana, and I think it's a B for LA. But chance to become a really good trade for them. And I think the last noteworthy one that I would even look on covering um, is non-existent. Nick Richard goes to Chicago. They get another center. They get a player who's not 6'9". Tyus Jones goes to Dallas. I think that's an interesting pickup. Maybe just have another guard after losing D'Lo, but nothing too crazy for me.
Who did you
Um,
say goes to oh, sorry, yeah, yeah, so I realized what
yeah,
the problem is. Mine shows it if you update it, it might look different, but mine
yeah.
shows the Charlotte Hornets or this trade here actually being a part of the Anthony Davis trade.
Oh, okay, okay.
So they
Gotcha, gotcha,
updated
gotcha,
it to
gotcha.
show them combined, but still it shows the Charlotte Bobcats logo for some reason.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
Well,
but yeah, no, I think that's a little bit better for the Mavericks than what they had before. I definitely think it improves that trade.
yeah.
Um, and
I will say
then yeah.
there's one more portion that I like to touch on before we wrap. I and this is not a trade, but I am surprised Giannis stayed a little bit. A lot like I saw someone say that they think it's going to happen in the offseason. I will say that was a large portion of this trade deadline. Like so, the question I had for
Yeah.
you, but yeah, the question that I had for you was: we graded the trades with the Giannis one in mind too. How would you grade the actual trade deadline?
So, okay, for the Giannis trade, I'm a Wolves
Yeah,
fan. I obviously wanted us to trade for Giannis. It was on the table, but I had a really hard line about what I didn't want to be given up to get Giannis, and that was Jaden McDaniels and it was Naz Reid. I would have been fine with practically anybody else, obviously except for Anthony Edwards, being
yeah,
sent out for Giannis. Our young core, our draft picks, I don't care. I just don't think that we would have the success that we really do need to have to win a championship if we get rid of McDaniels, making room for Giannis.
yeah,
I think we're already nearly contenders, and we just needed that point guard filled in. If we could have gotten Giannis instead of filling in the point guard position, that's fine as long as we're not giving up too much because once again, we're not in a bad position right now at all. We're honestly we're just losing to the bad teams and beating a lot of good
yeah.
teams. We almost lost to the who is it? Just last night or 2 nights ago. Oh my gosh, some team that shouldn't be competing very much with us. Who was that? The um the Raptors
I was about to say because I saw he said that you guys hadn't beat them since Bruce Lee
in
died.
Toronto. Yeah. So the Raptors are
Yeah,
all right. They're 30-22, which is not a bad. That's not technically a bad
yeah,
team, but they're 30-22
they
in the East, and I don't view them as nearly as close of a team in terms of competitiveness as the Timberwolves. So I had higher expectations for us. I'm so happy we did come back, but we have been losing to worse teams throughout the season. I mean, we lost to the Grizzlies, we lost to the Bulls, we lost to the Jazz recently, the Nets, the Hawks, the Grizzlies
mm,
again, and
mm,
that's just going back to, like, mid-December, you know?
yeah,
So I'm really unhappy with those losses, and, like, what's really funny about them is, like, it'll be, like, 2 days after we beat the Thunder, or
yeah,
a few days after we beat the Spurs, or whatever. Um, yeah, we beat OKC, 2 games later, we beat the Knicks, and then 2 games later, we lost to the Nets. Like,
yeah. It's some
ridiculous.
odd stuff.
So, I was like, "We don't need that much to push us over the edge, we just need a good guard." I think Io is that right guy for us. I think he's gonna match our style. Um, so I'm pretty excited. But Giannis being like the fact that he was like considered on the market and then afterwards they're like, no, we were never getting rid of Giannis. And Giannis was
And did you
like,
see his post
yeah,
too?
what was it?
Uh,
Legends don't chase, they recruit or whatever the
attract,
hell, or they
attract.
attract, whatever.
Uh,
Why were we talking about it then? Why was it such a thing? Why was there so much miscommunication about whether or not Giannis was actually on the trading block? Because that affects how everyone conducts themselves. Were they trying to cause chaos? Was that it? Were the
maybe
Bucks
so.
just messing with everyone? Because
Yeah,
that's really annoying. We could have all been focused on our other deals and thinking of better plans, and maybe we pick up Kobe White when we had the chance because it seemed like we were going after Giannis with
yeah.
that, getting rid of that $10 million contract. So I really, more than anything, I hated that the Bucks allowed it to be a conversation when it seems like in the end they were targeting John Morant. you know?
Yeah.
And like I'm also happy we didn't like I heard some other people on like TikTok and stuff say, "Oh, we got rid of the Mike Conley contract so we could trade for John Morant." And I try to check it out in Spotrac and I'm like, "We could not money-wise trade for John Morant without getting rid of one of our starters or Naz Reid."
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
why would we ever do that?
Yeah. It's
That's insanity.
yeah. It was the Giannis thing being the forefront of the entire trade deadline, and to not see any indication that like nothing at once the day started, it was like Giannis talk evaporated because the Warriors were out, and then once you guys, once they kind of put it out there, like, oh, we're gonna keep him. Like, what a waste of time. And I do believe, I thought that if they didn't trade him, it's just gonna happen in the off season. But they must have, excuse my language here, a hell of a sales pitch to Giannis. They must have a
Yeah.
hell of a sales pitch to Giannis. Whatever they say to him each trade deadline and each offseason to get that man to stay, give their GM a raise. And
Yeah.
hold on, that sounds crazy out of context. But to keep Giannis, he must have his like charisma attributes through the roof because it's so bad. The team's been bad. I don't know how they keep him, but his actual trade awareness and actually getting the deal done, I do dislike their GM for not making a move. I think it was time to make a move, but maybe they do it in the off season. Maybe you see them shake it up.
Yeah. I do think this offseason I think there are a lot of free, agents this offseason. I think they can definitely look to move some pieces. I am a huge, huge hater of the Bucks' current roster construction.
It's terrible.
I think it's awful. I think they are doing Giannis a disservice, and it's not like, "Oh, why does Giannis want out?" It's like or like, why is he being a diva about it? It's more
Yeah,
like, why didn't the Bucks do enough already to get him to stay?
yeah,
They chose Chris Middleton over Drew Holiday until Chris Middleton's, value completely dropped, and then they had to move him for chump change, which did end up being Ryan Rollins, so that did work out a little bit, but that's still not, doing the trick for the Bucks in terms of being a competitive team. Why is a
Yeah,
MVP candidate, a top 3-5 player in the world, not surrounded by guys who are going to help his chances of winning? I
it's a
mean, I,
mystery to
I
me.
I think of the top 5 guys, he probably has the least amount of help in the league.
I think that this is not ridiculous to say that at all.
I mean, no, I
Um,
mean, I'm thinking about it right now. Like the top guys, they have some really good teams, and there's been times in the past where a top 5 guy maybe does not have a great team around him. But if we're talking
it's
about
not
Shea has a great team, Luca has a good team
Luka,
around him. Not the
Jokic.
best, they're okay. Uh, Anthony
Yeah,
Edwards has a great team around him. Wemby has pretty good roster construction, especially setting up for the future.
Jokic has a good
They at
team
least have
around him.
direction.
Kate Cunningham has a
Cade
better team
Cunningham is a
around
great
him.
team. Maybe you don't consider him a top 5 guy, but he's doing.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, yeah.
No, but
But
you could.
it
You
had
could. You absolutely could. Jokic. Sorry, I should have mentioned him sooner.
Jokic. Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't
a
know. Like,
lot. It's just ridiculous that a top 10 guy has a better team surrounding him than Giannis, and it's
right.
yeah. They made some poor moves. I think if I had to give the entire for the entire trade deadline, um, I'd give it a solid B plus. It could have cracked A for me if Giannis moved. Um, but just as a whole, I'd say B plus. Um, I wish the Lakers could have made more moves. I give it a B actually. I wish the Lakers could have made more moves. Um, honestly, made one
Yeah.
more. Maybe try and find a big. All these bigs are moving around. Like we couldn't try and throw our hand in there for Vucevic. Like, I mean, he's not exactly what we need at like a center. Really need someone like a defensive minded guy. We could have thrown him for Nick. Whatever.
Yeah.
I give the trade deadline a B. It was entertaining. There were some memorable names in there, some memorable trades, and a lot of future implications we could see. I give it a B.
I think I'm gonna steal your B plus. And I
Okay.
say that. And I say that. I was thinking about this earlier. I mean, obviously, as a Wolves fan, I am disappointed in one way, but
Yeah.
in another, I'm very happy with getting Io and getting rid of some guys that we really, didn't need on the team anymore. Saving money as well. But moving away from just my own team, um, I was disappointed to not hear Giannis moved. I was disappointed to not hear Ja moved. I was disappointed that the Pelicans didn't make more noise. I was disappointed that um, the Bulls didn't really finish. Like I feel like I was left on a cliffhanger of what they were like. Oh, let them cook, and it's nothing.
Yeah. Oh,
They were like,
oh,
wait. They were like, wait. You thought we were in the kitchen?
yeah,
We forgot about that. We wandered into a
yeah,
different room and went. Wait, what were we doing?
yeah. Another one was the Heat too. Only team in the Eastern Conference to not make a single move.
That's true.
They
I,
completely
I think
forgot the trade deadline existed.
I think if you try to preserve Bam and Norman Powell and you go all in on every other player looking to get Giannis and Ja, I think money wise it works, and I think who you're dealing out can also work for those teams. You'd throw picks at the Grizzlies, you'd throw Tyler Hero at the Bucks. I think it would work, and you can move on from that Terry Rozier contract, assuming that it's tradable. I assume it is because
He's
they
getting
just
paid.
they just ruled they just ruled that
Yeah.
they're paying him. So I would definitely like to hear more. So I didn't hear from the teams that I expected to, or at least in the ways that I expected them to. I didn't hear about those players that I was really interested in seeing traded. You can even say LaMelo Ball was, disappointed to not hear anything about
Oh,
him. Um, but at the same time, I am very pleasantly surprised with the ones that we did get. Jaren Jackson Jr. before John Morant getting traded is surprising, but
yeah.
interesting. I think the Bulls, despite how weird it was interesting. And
They were
I
interesting.
think an interesting trade deadline is still a positive in my book.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I think the James Harden one kind of hit us really quick, and we'll have to see how that
Yeah.
what happens next. And the Zubac was also a big deal, and I love that for the Pacers. I'm not a Pacers hater at all. I'm honestly kind of a fan of seeing them succeed. I mean, especially
Yeah.
since they played against the Thunder in the finals.
Took him 7 games and
And
had to
Tyrese Halliburton has had a lot of hate, I think, over the years in
yeah.
terms of
Especially being I just talked about this today. He went in the same playoff run for the most overrated player, right? Into becoming probably the most valuable to a franchise that
Yeah,
I've seen, like outside of SGA, the most valuable. Honestly, you could say, but
more
I'm gonna leave it
valuable.
at
I
that.
agree. I
More
agree.
valuable.
Say it.
Tyrese Halliburton, more valuable than SGA, purely because I mean, you look at the drop off, but man, to be so apparently overrated,
Mm,
and man, I am pro seeing them succeed. That is like
yeah,
at 100%. The Pacers succeed. I think everybody is happy.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like I said, interesting trade deadline is a good trade deadline. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed covering the trades with you. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing the implications. We can get back on here this weekend. Hopefully, we start to see some of these guys take their first actual time on the court with their new teams. Maybe we're
yeah.
reacting to some of their first games.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna look to fix up the trade machine on the website, which is
Yeah,
more of a trade visualizer to kind of
yeah,
set it all up, see what you can do. It
yeah,
doesn't say whether or not it's legal. It doesn't have that functionality, but it's a good visual after you check to make sure it does make sense money wise.
yeah,
And I want to look to change it so you can say look at it in the summertime now, after the season
yeah,
ends. Who is still on the roster? You can select, pick up this player's option, pick up the team option, re-sign, just to give options for what could happen down the road. As most of it is pretty hypothetical right now, and there's
yeah,
uh, fewer restrictions going into the summer on in certain situations. So I am
yeah.
excited to see what happens, especially around draft night. I think that'll be very interesting given
Oh, absolutely.
this highly anticipated draft class. But
Highly
yeah,
anticipated. But
um,
yeah,
it'll be a
lots of
bummer
exciting
to
stuff
not
happening.
think about the trades for a while, though.
Yeah, right,
It's
right,
a fun
right.
thing to do.
It's been fun. But yeah, man.
All right.
Again, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you guys. If you're taking the chance to look at our content, visit our website, allthegame.com. Appreciate all of you who tuned in. Just remember,
It's all a game.
peace.